used to be closer to 60-40, but it has crept up over a period of time. We've not increased it, and it has not been increased through this budget whatsoever. It's still at 67-33.
But I'm just from an educational standpoint for myself. So you would consider the reduction of the general liability insurance to be match that definition of what you're using to qualify it as a split?
It's a fixed cost.
It's a fixed cost.
It's a fixed cost.
Oh, okay.
So you reduce the fixed cost, the rest flows
Right,
into
flows
the
in,
budget.
Yeah, as we
Okay.
reduce fixed costs, the understanding is what we do is we fund fixed costs off the top before we fund anything else. So if there's any savings in fixed costs, they get distributed back down through the departments.
Okay.
The items that are shown here on the bottom of the sheet, it says special item expenditures to be funded by free cash that may be removed, not yet reflected in the TA's preliminary budget recommendations. These are items that totaling $353,723 that we will be funding or propose to be funded through one-time sources of free cash going into town meetings. They've been extracted from the budget because they represent one-time amounts. We're sitting on a significant amount of free cash going into town meeting, about $515,231 if the number hits me right. What we intend to do is we intend to use a portion of that to fund the budget. We also, I also propose that we'll use a portion of that to fund the document management study that I'll talk a little bit later about this evening, and then also meet some of our current year obligations. There have been two departments that anticipate shortfalls. One of them is the employee benefits for an unemployment claim. The other one is the recreation department, which projects a small shortfall in their budget for this year. So what we're doing is we're utilizing the free cash to fund those items in this year's budget. We're also hoping to fund it with the document management study, and then we're using the remaining balance to offset our cost in the fiscal year 2013 budget. Questions?
Okay, so the proposal you'd made a few weeks ago about taking out the Parks and Rec money now is back in.
Yeah, it's back in. I think at that time we had talked about the Parks and Rec and the conservation agent.
Yes.
And in response to questions that came up from the board, we've added those monies back in. And throughout the budget process, the board has made comments about wanting to add in the E-code, and there was some small capital in the fire department. So anything that the board has requested, what we've done is we've added those numbers back in to reflect the balanced budgets that you see this evening. And the detail is provided on the pages that follow. I think one of the major goals with town meeting is, one of the things that I wanted to do was to try to build up our reserves going forward. And it's important that we do so. And the budget that's presented to the board, I gave you a status of various reserve accounts that was included in your packet for this evening. And what we're doing is we're looking to build up those reserve accounts. Give me for a second, just find that.
You looking for the reserve account number?
Yeah, oh, here it is.
Numbers.
You could maybe just look at the other sheets that were included. They weren't in the packet tonight, but they're started off with projected surpluses, reserve account status, and transfers to the debt stabilization fund.
Sorry.
Is that
we
the,
have them or
No, they were in your
Yeah, I have.
packet.
Yeah, I thought he had an amendment or something.
No, I didn't have any
okay.
changes to them.
Let's start with the budget surpluses.
Yeah, I want to start with the budget surpluses because these are amounts that we would, I'd like to see transferred to the debt stabilization fund. As you can see, The first two items would be transfers to the debt stabilization fund, which would grow that balance. The savings in the vocational school assessment would close out the free cash. And the unused money in the fire salary recruit training would go back to the ambulance fund as roots. It should go to fund future costs in that department. So those are the projected budget surpluses in really big numbers that we need to do something about at the town meeting.
This is the special town meeting before the regular town meeting. And in order to put $600,000 from debt stabilization into the 2013 budget, we have to put this money into the stabilization fund. And in the end, I think after the 600 is out, there's still 500 and something.
Yeah, I actually put together a sheet. It's called Transfers to the Debt Stabilization Fund, which I think is.
Where is that?
It's on page 52 of your
No, the there's regular something bill. else he's talking about.
Oh,
No, he's talking about the.
It says Transfers to Debt Stabilization
it's
Fund.
page 52.
Oh, really?
In your in the regular packet, not
Regular
the
packet, not the supplement.
addendum.
Oh, wait.
It's the
Okay,
third
thank you.
one from the beginning of where we started.
Page 52.
It's not on this.
No, it's
No.
not on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's
But
FY
they-
2013 projected budget surpluses.
That's it.
23.
That's it.
April 23rd.
That's it.
If you start with the projected budget surpluses, then you go to page 54 of 70. It's the third one in.
Now we'll look at the reserve account status.
Transfers to the Debt Stabilization Fund. You see the current balance, 376, 693.
Mm-hmm.
You see the items that we propose to go to town meeting to add to that account. And you'll see that it includes a variety of different funding sources that are shown here. The bottom line in this goal is to leave town meeting, to transfer money out at town meeting, but to leave an unspent balance of $515,971, which is larger than where we are today, and that's after balancing our budget.
Okay, this sheet is 675 coming out of the debt stabilization.
Right.
That's been a change to
600. 600.
So the unspent balance will have 75 more than the.
Right.
So we get
So it's
why did it change by 75? Because of free cash now we're not doing that?
That's right.
We were looking at a way of closing the budget gap, and before a better way was found, we were going to put 675. We're trying to get 25. It would have required that 50 went to the of the 75 went to the school,
Mm-hmm.
roughly, and it was determined it was needed.
So, to make sure I understand this, I know I should have learned this from last year, but so the FY projected budget surplus is the 511,000.
Correct.
That money gets moved into the debt stabilization fund. And it's
Most of it.
Most, not all.
Not all of it.
Okay. What gets moved out of the 511? What gets moved into it?
300 and 119.
300 and the 119. Okay. And then the other 92 goes where?
40 of it closes to free cash unspent.
Okay.
52 goes to the ambulance reserve fund,
From where it came.
From
from where it came.
Okay.
Right back, but it takes a vote of town
Takes
meeting
a
to
vote.
do it.
I'm just walking myself through
Yep.
it to make sure I get it. Okay. Then when you go back over to page 54, and when you total this all up, now I got to extract that 75. Now that's not part of the 100, the 1.1 million, right? I got to take that out now.
Right.
Okay. That leaves us with 600. We're going to transfer 600 into the FY 2013 budget, which what you presented us tonight has the 75 in it, right? So this has to change now too.
No, that number is balanced.
That number is balanced.
There's no further actions that would be required on
If you
the
look,
basis of
if you look under
75,000.
on the first page of the
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
going on. Yep.
you'll see it's 600.
I see the 677.
No, that's from last year. 600.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. I gotta get a glasses, I guess. Yes. see the 600 now. Now it makes sense to me. Thank you. That was wrong. So you're gonna update this?
Which one?
That sheet, right?
Yeah,
Should
just
be
the-
that sheet.
Just
Yeah,
update,
The
yeah, just
670,
update, so.
675.
Yeah, the 675, we didn't have time to update
Yeah,
that.
that's fine. I know when I go to read it next year, I won't remember. I'll try.
So again, if the last and final sheet says reserve account status, and if you just kind of keep in mind the debt stabilization transfers, the 600 and not the 675, just keep that in mind. You'll see what the status of all our accounts are, what the balances are today, what the actions that are necessary at town meeting, and what the remaining balances in those accounts would be after town meeting. I've talked about everything that's here, but one thing I haven't talked about is number 10, which is the overlay surplus, 87,108, which will be earmarked to zero out our snow deficit for this year and make it zero. So the intent is to use overlay surplus for that purpose. The number 11, FEMA reimbursements in the amount of 109,289. That's 109,289, not 108. 289. There's a lot of numbers that are really similar in here. You just have to look at it. No action on that because we haven't got that money. So conceivably, if Hillview doesn't hold through on its promise for $60,000, this is an amount of money that we could use to balance out the budget and avoid a revenue deficit for the year. It's money that we're holding in reserve. And we will be receiving it. The question is when. I don't think anyone knows when the federal government gives money. You'll note that going forward in terms of amounts that we have available when we sit down and talk about the budget a year from now, is we will have monies in the cell tower fund, and it's likely that that number will be larger than the remaining after town meeting balance, because what we've done is we had an opportunity to really grow that amount of revenue over a period of time. The town has had in the past brought in a very modest amount on cell tower revenues. We're actually bringing in a lot more money on that than we used to. So it's a nice revenue producer for the town and for the community.
Is a portion of that going towards the school system, one on the
Correct.
Swan Pond Tower?
Yes. Swan Pond, Tower Hill, North Street. We have towers on all of those locations, plus the DPW.
Plus the DPW, no, I know, but I thought Swan Pond, because it was on school property, was that the earmark?
No, all goes. It all comes in. It all comes in as municipal revenue. Gets divided up 6733. So.
All of it?
Yeah. It all gets divided up 6733.
Oh, if it's applied.
It gets applied.
If it's applied.
If it's applied.
But it goes into a fund called cell tower revenue. It just doesn't say. Or is it just an account on the general?
Well, you know what happens is, again, we've employed conservative practices in terms of budgeting that revenue, applying it to our budget. So we've been applying about $165,000 a year. What's happened is that as we've been building up new towers, we're still budgeting $165,000, which allows a significant portion to go into the reserve. What we are doing for this year is we're taking money from the cell tower reserve fund. We're also increasing the amount that we see coming in as annual revenue. But we're not bringing it from 165 to 300. We're bringing it from 165 to 200. Again, trying to be conservative and still allowing money to flow into the reserve account. That's the plan.
Just one of the things I'd like to remind the board, when the first cell tower was put up down at the DPW site, revenues from that was initially earmarked for sidewalk repair and expansion. We've fallen way away from doing that. But the need for sidewalk expansion and maintenance hasn't diminished at all. I'm sorry, Mr. Yule isn't here, as he runs the streets and runs the town.
I also have an email from one of our favorite complainants about that.
Right. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't get it. But anyway,
I'd be glad to forward it to you.
yes, I'm sure. But I mean, somehow or another, I think the original intent has been lost. And when we have an increase in cell tower revenue, I don't think it would be unwise to start committing some back to that particular sidewalk maintenance and expansion